Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous et à toutes. Tonight is an opportunity to honor some extraordinary stories of innovation, of determination, of setbacks, and big successes. And it's a chance to discuss how we can drive more success, more innovation, and smart ideas into the future across our country. It's an honor to act as co-host this evening with Elise Allen. Elise is the kind of business leader who keeps Canada moving forward. That includes the leading-edge work that she has helped to spearhead in New Brunswick through GE Canada's partnership with the Irving Group and Kent Homes, manufacturing energy-efficient structures. I want to start by thanking the Public Policy Forum for inviting me to join you here this evening. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, there's nothing like a royal wedding and another federal election to make a public policy dinner seem exciting. I was more than a little bit worried when I heard how well Premier Brad Wall did speaking to you here 2 years ago. But I was relieved when I heard about my good friend Premier Dexter's performance last year. How about the ride that Jack Layton is having on the latest polls? Whoever could have predicted that that was going to happen? A lot of people said that it couldn't be done. Many have tried and have failed to do what Jack is trying to do. And surprisingly, I'm not even talking about the polls. I'm talking about the fact that he's a popular leader with a mustache and no hair. As some of you may know, my mustache conveniently disappeared in time for a leadership run. And the image consultants at the time also had me try 14 different haircuts before the leadership finally got there, and I can tell you that there isn't a wig. You know, maybe Jack is onto something, and it's not too late for Stephen or Michael to grow a little stubble in the last weekend of the campaign. The Telegraph-Journal, New Brunswick's provincial newspaper, had a story this week about that this was an event that would be an opportunity to introduce me to the Toronto elite and the rest of Canada, not to mention the chance to be on CPAC. Can you imagine the excitement of a farmer from New Brunswick being on such a prestigious channel, especially when you can find it on the dial? But you know, I would have thought that many of you would have already known me from my centerfold spread on Herefords Today after our big election win in New Brunswick. If you're not familiar with Herefords Today, I can tell you it's one of Canada's preeminent political magazines, right up there with Maclean's magazine. A Maclean's reporter said that after last fall's election that my French reminded him of how painful it was to listen to his father reading the text off a cereal box. Je suis fier d'être le Premier ministre de la seule province bilingue au Canada. Et j'aime sincèrement la langue française. C'est une langue avec tellement d'histoire, de nuances et de richesse. It's a very eloquent language. At times it sounds almost musical, except when it's coming out of my mouth. But you know, I'm working on it. My goal is to one day be as eloquent in French as I am in English. And all New Brunswickers know just how eloquent that is. Ultimately, though, it's not how you say it, it's what you say. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to take part in this tribute to some truly distinguished Canadians. Please clap. It's an honor to sit by Bill Davis tonight. You can all be very proud of your work to improve the quality of public policy and public management in Canada. I hope many more Canadians will be inspired by your outstanding contributions and choose to become engaged in matters of public policy. Citizen engagement is absolutely critical for any democracy and something that we in New Brunswick believe in firmly. After all, politics is about people, our communities, our ideas, and our priorities. As government leaders and as policy thinkers, our responsibility is to connect the ideas and the priorities of individual citizens with the decisions that impact their communities and their families. The longer you hang around politics, the easier it is to see that when governments get decisions right, it's because they've involved those who are going to be impacted by those decisions. In fact, I believe that responsible governing isn't seeing public engagement just as a smart choice, but as an essential piece of preparing every decision a government takes. A farmer must till the soil and prepare his fields, even before he plants his crops and starts to think about a harvest. Now, as a farmer and a politician, I can tell you which job usually is more popular with the average Canadian. And there's a reason for that. When governments get lazy and don't do the work that they should be doing alongside the citizens they represent and close to the communities they live in, they usually get it wrong. And even if they make a sound decision, but it's implemented with a bulldozer rather than by following proper engagement process, they're not going to get as far as they need to. In New Brunswick, the people have made it abundantly clear that it's not good enough to watch from the sidelines. People want to be involved, and they want their voices to be heard. The challenges we face now are way too serious for us not to be working together and to be tapping into all the ideas we possibly can. And there's one challenge in particular that's very serious for all of us. It's the rising cost of health care, by far the most expensive government service today. Successive governments in New Brunswick, from Frank McKenna, Bernard Lord, and Sean Graham, have invested vast amounts of money in health care over the last 2 decades. Nevertheless, the cost of delivering these services has gone up and is still growing. I can tell you this spending represents a huge challenge for our province with a small and aging population like ours. Every year, there are more people who need more from our healthcare system in New Brunswick. At the same time, it's becoming more and more difficult to cover the costs of providing the care that people need. Certainly, this situation is hardly unique to New Brunswick. Across Canada, governments are facing the same challenges. Provincial and territorial governments are dealing with the rising costs of health care and aging populations. The situation is just unfolding faster in our province than it is elsewhere. That's due to our demographic makeup, which doesn't leave us room for much complacency. It also forces us to lead the way towards innovative solutions that can be implemented across the country. So, where does public policy fit into the urgency to act? In a period of austerity, there is inevitably a push to cut services, to cut resources we dedicate to driving policy, as it's happened so many times when money becomes scarce. In New Brunswick, like so many other provinces, we're doing what we can do to make our government run more efficiently, with less duplication and more focus on frontline services. But we're also aware that it's counterproductive to remove the capacity to make decisions with the innovation and vision that is required to tackle the tough times ahead. In New Brunswick, governments in the past have cut much of the policy gray matter that once existed. But there's a new initiative underway that will help us find answers to the very serious questions that we face as a government and really as a society. The Social Policy Research Network brings together leaders in government, civil society, and academia to work through these questions together. Ultimately, the Social Policy Research Network will help find the answers to avoid the erosion of vital government services and to build an even greater quality of life for our families and our future generations. This is an example of the kind of policy work that has a very real and a very tangible connection to the kind of government we can provide and the kind of society that we can aspire to live. And inevitably, the need for other jurisdictions to address these challenges will become as urgent as it is in New Brunswick right now. The emerging crisis is clearly unsustainable. That is why I believe it is time for a national dialogue on health care. We need to start discussing our common challenges and tackling them through a collaborative approach. New Brunswick literally cannot afford to sit back and watch how other provinces handle the demographic bombshell. That's because it's hitting us first. Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving New Brunswick in a new direction. We're moving toward a sustainable healthcare system based on a more robust, knowledge-based economy that runs on innovation and creativity. Let me wrap up on a note because I know that there's a lot of business ahead of us this evening. We have two awards to confer before the dinner, the Hyman Solomon Award and the Emerging Leaders Award. We'll break for dinner at 7:15 if I haven't gone on a little too long. And just after 8 o'clock, we'll have a video program and a chance to hear from our 4 Public Policy Forum Award winners. Finally, we'll briefly again hear from David Mitchell, who'll wrap things up at 9:30 or thereabouts, depending on what Bill Davis has to say. Thanks a lot, and we'll join you a little bit later again.